Hey everyone, I'm just trying to get the lighting a little bit better. Using YouTube Live is always kind of a struggle because you can't actually do any of the cool, you know, controls around the camera, which I would like to be able to do, but I guess we'll just have to deal with it as is. No, that's not what I want to do. All right. So sorry about the lighting. It's a little bit darker than I would like, but we're gonna just go ahead and get started. So I just got R30 Nitro today, and I don't really know a lot about Override at all. But from what I can tell, there it's a female, which I didn't know until I read the wiki, and then also she's like the leader of Velocitron, which I guess we saw that Chaos on Velocitron box set from Hasbro earlier this year. But yeah, so Unicron Trilogy, I never was into that. I'm only a fairly recent collector, so that's all in the middle gap where I wasn't collecting or into the mythos. Anyway, the packaging is pretty standard stuff. It's a remold, obviously, of Calidus, their version of Rodimus. But as you can see, nice render on the front, on the side, same deal. Top, some action shots, but it's really the back that always has the good stuff, right? And I actually like the deco a lot. The red and white is pretty cool, and the even the teal is quite nice. The deco looks very similar to what I've seen online on the pictures of what Nitro's Override's supposed to look like. So I think they did a pretty good job with this remold. And again, I think this continues the whole thing that I keep saying about MMC. Yeah, they do a lot of remolds, but they also do remolds with characters that you would never see else otherwise, right? So I kind of appreciate that. So hopefully fans of the Cybertron series appreciate that as well. So I haven't even opened this up. This is going to be a first live review of this character, and I'm going to try to remember how to transform this mold without messing up too badly. If I miss your guys' comments, I apologize. I'm looking mostly at the figure itself and not the um, the camera. So pretty standard stuff is looking like. Got the instruction manual. I have no idea what the comic will be for this. And to be perfectly honest, I don't read all of the comics for the MMC stuff. I mean, we get so many of these characters and instructions that um, it's hard to keep up with all the comics, and sometimes they come out of order. But it looks like it is a comic unique to Override, which is pretty cool. This is the instruction manual. I gotta imagine it's pretty much the same. The only thing you get with her, is this laser rifle, which is a new mold for this character. And I guess that's it. Super simple instructions, 2 pages. I think I showed this off. All right. Looks like this is also taped up, so let me go ahead and slice this open. I think somebody asked how I got this, so I always try to remember to put a disclaimer. I actually do the official video manuals for Ocular Max and Mastermind Creations, so they usually send me the stuff. Oh, well, that's not a good sign already. Oh, it's this piece. Okay. Oh, I thought they usually glued that in. Oh, really? Oh, interesting. So thanks, Rugelhide. So it was a male character. So from the Transformers wiki, it was saying that it's a female character that pretended to be a male to win the race to become the leader of Velocitron. I guess that's how you become the leader to be the fastest. So that's interesting. So in Galaxy Force, the Japanese version, it was a male Nitro Convoy. Okay, that makes sense with the name. Let me scooch this down a bit so you guys can see a little bit better. Man, why is this light so dark? I'm trying to see if I can do it. I can't even like tap to focus or anything like that on the YouTube live. That's one of the most frustrating things. So let's take a quick 360 look at the character. Hopefully nothing else kind of like falls off. But again, it's just a remold of the Calidus mold that we've seen. I think 3 or 4 times now. We've got the shattered glass one, we had the asterisk one, and we had the standard one. So I think this is the fourth version of this mold. I think the decos are really nice. The paint apps are pretty clean with the white paint here, the stripes that match the kind of character design before, the teal blue paint that we see. The character definitely does have more of a, I would say, like a malish. I'm glad I got your name right. At least I got one name right. But Yeah, the face actually looks kind of malish, kind of angry, not as feminine as I would think, but it looks like it has some extra molded pieces here on the front. So here, let me pull out Calidus real quick, and you can see it actually has an extra windshield piece, translucent piece up front, which is nice. As far as I can tell, the only other pieces that are different are kind of like this shin piece, this knee piece, the forearms, and then the shoulders. Oh, and of course the head. Trying to look at the back here. Yeah, most of this is the same except the wing that tab in. Oh, and this piece of the translucent paint that has some gold paint on it. All right, cool. All right, good job. But I think all else is pretty much the same. We'll see if there's any other major differences once we get it into alt mode. So let's see. The gun here is also painted gold with some molded design. It looks fairly accurate to the design I saw online, but and he pegs in just fine. The character itself, I think, is an interesting design, but again, I think it's not a character I really identify with. So if you like this character and you like the color scheme and design, I think that's really going to drive your purchase with this guy. You're going to be familiar with the mold and everything. As far as articulation goes, he does have a ball jointed head. He does have that shoulder joint up here, as well as this hinge here, and then a separate hinge that's actually in the shoulder itself. He has these little oh, these things actually spin. Interesting. All right. He does have a bicep swivel up top, and then another swivel down at the forearm, and then some double jointed elbows, which you'll need for transformation. He has a ball jointed wrist, which is something that I think goes underappreciated. A lot of people are okay with just a wrist swivel, but I actually like having a jointed wrist. It gives you just a little bit more of that when you're posing him. Same MMC style hands. The pointer finger is one hinge, and the three other fingers are molded together. As far as the waist goes, he has a 360 waist swivel, no ab crunch or anything like that. He does have, or he or she, or whatever you want to call it, has about 90 degrees forward and backwards, softly ratcheted going outwards. That's restricted really by this molded thigh piece here. Does have a very nice deep knee bend, and the ankles have a couple pieces of articulation. So it's actually on a slider. A lot of people miss this. This mold actually has a sliding joint, so it's supposed to tuck backwards for robot mode and then pull forward for alt mode. He does have tilt forward and backwards as well as side to side, and the heel can articulate in a variety of ways. So as far as articulation goes, I think this guy has a lot that you would really want. Oh, and I always forget the thigh swivel. Thigh swivel. There we go. As far as the mold goes, I've always kind of enjoyed this mold. I actually didn't like it when I first saw it, but it kind of grew on me. There's still some parts about it that I don't like. For example, like here, kind of the hollowness. You can actually see through a lot of this mold from the side. It's not that bad. And then I also don't like kind of these spindly shoulders. You can kind of get rid of that by tucking that in on that double jointed shoulder. But then you get shoulders that are kind of too close to the torso, in my opinion. Oh, I'm just noticing here. He actually has translucent wheels. Is that shown on the back here? Oh yeah, on here too, translucent wheels. That's actually kind of nice. It's a unique design. And there's red on the inside, so yeah, that actually looks really nice. It's like a smoky, translucent gray plastic with some and red on the inside. It's hard to tell, but that's actually quite nice. I actually like that. That looks really cool. So I think we already did some comparisons, but let's bring out other versions of this mold. So there he is with the one Rodimus, and the other Rodimus I currently have with me is the Shattered Glass one, or the mustachioed one. Translucent wheels was a thing with the Speedia Transformers. I don't even know what Speedia is, but okay, that's cool. If it's a throwback to something else. I actually like this color of this mold a lot. I think of all the molds, I think I probably like the color of the black and purple. That always just kind of looks really nice. But I also like the Lost Light purple and blue one. That actually might be my overall favorite because I don't really like the mustachioed look of Rodimus. Yeah, so it looks overall quite nice. Tolerances seem as good as the rest. This mold hasn't suffered for any, as far as I can tell, from any kind of like bad mold design where they need to tighten up stuff. Everything has been pretty tight on my figures of the previous versions of this mold, so that's good. Let's go ahead and actually, oh, they do have an indentation here. I'm guessing that's where her Autobot logo, or whatever logo they had in Cybertron or Galaxy Force, whatever they called it. So let's see if I can remember how to transform this character. There are going to be some aspects of it I'm probably going to mess up. So let's just go ahead and fold the fists up. The first thing I usually do is fold this up, tab this in to the forearms, and then I think what else do I do? Oh, I do deal with the chest and torso piece. You have to open this up. That's right. You have to untab these pieces and rotate them down, and they have little ports here that they tab into or port into, like so. And then you collapse them on that double hinge, and they tab up right here. Okay. And then that will free up the chest to open up. It's also on kind of a double hinge deal, and flip these, what were kind of like the side fillers, out like this, and we'll deal with the rest of this later. The upper body, if I remember, you have to pull this down and then pull this kind of back piece up, tabs in up there, and you have to rotate the head. I don't know if that's the case with this character, but I don't know. Maybe that doesn't work because I'm trying to get the head rotated so that you can tuck it back, but she has a bit of a chin, so maybe you don't do that. Maybe you just kind of tuck it back up here. All right, time to reference the instructions real quick. This is what happens when you don't actually open the figure before you review it. I don't know. It doesn't seem to say whether the head has to turn around or not. Oh yeah, see, it doesn't say to rotate the head, so maybe not. All right, we're just gonna experiment then. Before you had to, because these pieces. Yeah, I don't think that's right. I think you do have to rotate it, but with the chin, I don't know if you're seeing it. The chin kind of interferes with it, so there's not enough clearance back here, as far as I can tell, to actually get it in. I don't want to break that either. I still have to do the instructions for this character, so I definitely don't want to break it. Oh, okay. So it seems to work like this, but then you get some face still kind of peeking out. So, but it does tab in all the way, so you just kind of rotate it back and tab it in this way, I suppose. Okay, we're going to go with that for now, and then maybe later we can try to figure this out. All right, so we'll do that. I remember this has a really unique thing where you have to kind of like rotate this and then rotate this around. Yeah, something like that. All right, and then the lower legs is the easy part. The lower leg, you should kind of like open up the front and back, bring the heel down, and remember to slide it on that sliding joint on the ankle. Then rotate this around. That tabs in. You just kind of close this up. They don't actually tab into anything. I guess there's a little resting spot here, but that's about it. Same thing on this side. We'll go ahead and push down on that heel. Get a tab forward or slid forward. Tab in both halves. And if I'm not mistaken, we go ahead and push this down first. These two side pipe pieces connect by pushing. There we go. Really stiff tabs. And then you just slide this down. Be careful of these pieces, these small white tabs. They do need to go underneath the chest piece. So then, oh, okay. So here's something that's different immediately. Since it doesn't have the forked toes that Rodimus has, Rodimus, you had forked toes, and you could just slide that in. It looks like you have to actually slide this close first, and then tab these over top of it. So the small difference in transformation there, not a whole lot though. All right, so that looks like that's done, and then you can, I guess, make use of this blaster here. unless the instructions say otherwise that we need another slot for this. I'm guessing this is probably about right. Yeah, okay, so that looks right. So that wasn't too painful. I do find the head kind of peeking out a little bit odd. And again, I'm not really sure if that's exactly right. I'll have to reference and test this out some more before I actually do the instruction manual and maybe ask the MMC guys. But it actually looks really nice. It doesn't look as accurate in alt mode as the robot mode does. I think he or she had more of a kind of like a forked front from what I saw in the pictures before. But again, I think as far as the remold goes, and I don't know why this isn't actually getting in. Oh, there we go. As far as remolds go, I think they do a pretty decent job. I think this front part here is what they really wanted. Oh, it's a lot better than the original toy. All right. I would hope so, though. I'm guessing the original toy is like over a decade old, so after this long, they should do a bit of a better job than that. I would think. But by and large, it actually still looks quite nice. I like this. I've always liked this mold in alt mode, even though it is really compact. The only things I never really liked were like the rear wheels being much smaller and like on the inside. But I guess that's something I can live with. I don't. I should have transformed one of these Calidus's into his alt mode just to compare. But I guess one figure I do have that it is in alt mode is the R29 Aero Alpha, which I recently put my review up on that and the official manual on MMC's channel. And this is actually quite a big alt mode, so you can get an idea of how big this is. And let's see, as always, sorry, Juan. I'm glad that I can help you out, but I'm apologize to your wife for me for making you spend money. Believe me, my wife is the same way. She's like, I spend way too much money on this stuff. But as far as streak comparison, my favorite comparison, it's about the same streak length and about 1.25 wide. So streak can pull out there. Yeah, I think that's it for the review. But I always like to take time when I do the live streams and see if you guys have any questions or comments before I go ahead and transform this back. Do you guys have any questions on things that I may have missed? And again, I apologize if I missed any comments in particular. Looks like it's mostly Rugelhide leaving comments, so it doesn't seem like you. Oh, and NSRW. Yeah, so I did get this from MMC directly since they do supply some samples for me to do their reviews and official transformation videos. So hopefully that doesn't make my review too biased. I do like the translucent pink windows. I think that looks really nice. And the fact that they actually went out of their way to change the molding so that this part is on the chest and this part is still on the back, it's actually quite nice. I've been kind of impressed with their paint apps. They're a lot cleaner than they were in the past. Like with their Nero Rex, there were a lot of bad paint apps on that version of the mold. But this one and recent releases like this have been really clean. Like this black here is really nice and glossy and applied really well. With the white in particular, it's always usually hard to get some nice coverage. But here it's actually really quite clean. All right, so it doesn't look like we have any questions, or if you guys have some more while I transform it back. Would Calidus's bow peg into the front like it did? Oh, hold on. Let me see. Luckily, I do have that. The red is actually fairly close in color to this one, so you might not even have to paint it, unless you want to get rid of the orange here. But yeah, it does peg in. I mean, it is the same mold, so it does peg in. You can get folded around back if you want to do that. And that looks kind of nice as well. Maybe that will give you kind of the faux forked look of Override. What was it? ATP Designs, or who had someone designed an adapter for the bow so that you could store it in various modes too. I think. Was it ATP? I feel like it was ATP Designs, but somebody could probably correct me on that. They had a 3D printed version adapter that allowed you to like peg this back here, I think, which was kind of a nice addition. I think it would look pretty cool if you could have that in there. Any other questions before I go ahead and switch back over to robot mode? Last call. All right. Going once, going twice, sold. So the first thing we'll do is go ahead and stretch this guy back out. Oh, I just broke something. Where is this from? Now this is going to be one of those exercises of, oh, I see it. So I messed up. So, oh, I see. So this is actually, so it does have the forked toe. It's just an added piece that they put in here to fill in the gap, I suppose. And the reason why this happened, I know exactly why this happened. Like I said, when you transform this character, it's slightly different. So when you plug it into here, you actually tab it over as opposed to just shoving the forked toe. So the first thing I should have actually done, and I'll have to make sure to note this, is to untab these feet pieces before pulling out. Otherwise, you're going to send those toe inserts flying. So that's actually a good lesson learned. No damage, and these pieces keep falling off. So these toe pieces, just make sure you go ahead and untab them first. Next up, we'll go ahead and pull up on the chest piece to release these two tabs on each side. Oh man, they're really tabbed in there. Trying to, oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. Go ahead and pull up on this, and then we can fold these pieces in. Split the two halves of the legs, open the front and back of the legs, rotate the lower leg down. The shin actually tabs in there, and this piece just kind of rests. Go ahead and fold the feet out, and remember to slide the ankles back. It is from Mastermind Creations Computronus Prime. It's a remold of their Calidus mold. Let's go ahead and fold this up, fold this in, and you can actually tell that it's a very Mastermind Creations design. Kind of like with their Feral Rex characters, they have this kind of similar looking leg and thigh design. I think that's a Cassie Sark design. If I'm not mistaken, that's probably the same designer as the Unrustable Bastards. Their mechanics, some mayhem mechanics, whatever they call it. I think it's the same designer. Don't quote me on that. I'm really bad with names. So with the next portion, we'll go ahead and rotate this and this, and to get this to the front. Next thing we'll do is go ahead and fold the head down. Give it enough clearance so that you can tuck this back in. Her name is Override. Override is the Cybertron version of their name, or I was told by another viewer it's Nitro Convoy for the Japanese version. Go ahead and fold this in. You might need to spread this out a little bit, but go ahead and tuck this in. And there's also a peg that will peg into the lower part of the abdomen, like so. From here, untab the shoulders, and then rotate these up. Which version of this mold do I like? I mean, they're all pretty much the same. I mean, the Calidus, all three of the Calidus ones are exactly the same, with the exception of the mustachioed version, the shattered glass version, which what's it called, is slightly different because the face has a mustache on it. But I think otherwise it's exactly the same. And I guess I would identify with that version or the Lost Light version the most, just because I know the character Rodimus as opposed to Nitro. Let's see, and then you fold the arms down and get the shoulders however you want, and get the gun back in place. And that's it. We have Override back in robot mode. This is not a very good angle for this. The figure is shipping, so it is a, I should have mentioned this before, it's a PSX Planet Steel Express exclusive. So if you don't know Planet Steel Express, it's kind of like the pseudo-official store for Mastermind Creations. So if you go to Planet Steel Express, you'll be able to order this character. And I think it's shipping right now. If not now, within the next week or so. Sky Shadow versus Winston Churchill. Interesting. Okay. But yeah, so this is available there. I think maybe I mean, with most MMC exclusives, you might get small allotments with your favorite retailer, but as far as I know, right now, it's a exclusive to that store. It's for 40 swears in total. I don't know what that means. All right. Any other questions or comparisons that you guys want, or any other questions in general? When I do live streams, I tend to just kind of go off the rails. We usually talk about the figure, but then people usually ask other things. One of the things I did want to bring up is that so I was really busy at the end of last year, but I'm going to try to get back into the swing of doing more and more reviews and more live streams. I actually really like the live streams a lot. Lets me do more free form and actually interact with you guys a bit more. What made me become a reviewer? It's actually not something I like plan to do. I just did a review comparing some versions of the MP Grimlock. I think it was like the US version with the Japanese version or something like that. People were asking about what the differences were. So I had the versions of the molds and I just threw up a review that did the comparison. And after that, I just kind of started doing a few more. And then Toy Dojo actually asked me if I was going to continue doing reviews and they wanted to sponsor me. So yeah, so that's kind of how everything started. The rocket elbows don't work for me. The rocket elbows? What are rocket elbows? Hmm. Oh, I don't have Feral Queens. I have Striker. Give me, or at least I have one version of that mold somewhere that at least I can easily reach. So give me 1 second. This is gonna take like maybe 20 seconds. So I don't have Striker easily accessible. She's in the back of one of my shelves, but this is the same mold. So hopefully this is enough of a comparison for you. Here, to give you a better idea of how Striker would look, it would be basically this and different colors. Oh, Computronics. Yeah, the shoulders. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not really familiar with this character, so I'm not really sure how accurate that is. It looked like the shoulder pieces, as you said, were not that accurate, but it is what it is. Again, with a remold, you're not going to get a exact copy. And it seems like there's only been like 2 versions of this character released since its inception. All right. Did I miss any other requests while I was going to grab this character? Safety cone shoulders. Yeah. Yeah, some people seem to like this version of the mold. I don't know. It's so close that it's hard to tell. I do think it pops a lot more in terms of the contrasting colors. You would like to see another combiner for MMC again. So I don't think MMC is planning to do any, since that's really focused on the IDW line. But their sister, or like it's their sub brand, um, Ocular Max, they're releasing some combiners. They've had some in the plans for a long time. So they had their Defensor kind of teased years ago, and nothing's really come of that. But they most recently at the TFCon US or TFCon DC, they showed off their Bruticus, which is interesting because the Bruticus was an all-in-one transformation, including the fist and the feet. So all the combiner parts are actually all included, which is really interesting. Would spend £2,000 for an IDW accurate deluxe Nautica toy with a new mold. Yeah, I actually like the Nautica version that they released, but yeah, it's not all that accurate. Who is the teaser in the manual? I don't think there was a teaser in this manual. It was Warpath in the Aero Alpha review, but I don't think there's a teaser in this one. Yeah, there's no teaser, just a comic. Although, if you guys don't mind being spoiled, we can look through this comic and see if they usually tease a little bit about the next character. Is this like Alpha Trion? Alpha Trion? So I guess they called this one Alpha Trion. So maybe that's going to be the next version of the character. Seems to be predominantly featured in this version of the comic. I would definitely not mind a more accurate version of Alpha Trion. Like the Voyager version that Hasbro released recently was not very good. Yeah, it doesn't seem like any of the real characters are teased here, except this one. I don't know who this is supposed to be. I have no idea who this is supposed to be. Although it does look like it might be a remold of this mold as well. I have no idea. And then this is their Nova Prime mold that we saw before. Oh, although they have a little tease down here of Galvatron, or I want you to kill Tormenttron. So who knows? Maybe that's a hint that a Galvatron's coming out. I wouldn't expect it, but who knows? They usually do some teases out there. Yeah, that's right, Computronus. That's she is from Velocitron. That's Ransack. Oh, okay. So maybe they're gonna do a Ransack. I'm missing one thing else. How big is Pyramagna? Who's Pyramagna? You got to remind me who Pyramagna is. Chris P 1811. I did handle their Springer, but only the very early samples that were at TFCon US. They were very, very early and very, very floppy, as most test shots that early are. So I can't really give a good review of that or even an opinion of that. I couldn't even transform them because they weren't designed to be transformed. So we actually had 3 of them at my house in preparation for TFCon DC, one in each mode, as to not have to mess around with them. Oh, Pyromagna from Victorion. Yeah. I don't know. Again, I'm not a big IDW reader aside from More Than Meets the Eye, so Victorion really means nothing to me. Although, if you guys didn't know, Victorion is on sale at ThinkGeek today for like $37 plus shipping, or even free local pickup if you're near a ThinkGeek location. So that's the cheapest I've seen. Let's see. I'm trying to back up and see what other questions that you guys have. Yeah, Pyromagna is the hotspot version character, right? The main. Can you slide the Alpha Prime back into view? Alpha Prime. Who's Alpha Prime? Are you talking about Arrow Alpha? I can bring Arrow Alpha back into view. Yeah, Samita, yeah, you can get a lot out of a secret mold. Samita was saying if they could get this much out of IDW Hot Rod, imagine if they made a secret mold. But everybody makes a secret mold, so a lot of people don't seem to understand that this is the business, right? So, um, a lot of characters, like even Hasbro and Takara Tomy, have not released some characters like very popular characters like Jazz or Hound, and it's probably because they have very minimal remold possibilities. While the Lambos had a lot, obviously the Seekers have a lot. That's been remolded a ton of times. They're even trying to milk the Rodimus mold by doing a release with just the Target Master and some different paint apps. So when you don't get a specific character, like people are surprised. They're like, why don't they do this character even though they're super popular? It's because the molding cost for figures is really, really high. If you don't know the manufacturing process, which most of you probably don't, all these pieces have to be molded in a metal mold, and each figure, depending on the size and the complexity, can take 5 to 10 molds, maybe even more, depending on the size. And each of those molds costs anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 US. So if you're talking about one character that has 7 molds and this costs $5,000 per mold, that's $35,000 in fixed costs that they had to put in for just that mold. So they want to be able to reuse that mold as much as possible. So that's why when you see a lot of remolds, it's for that. It's to kind of spread that fixed cost of these figures across more figures, so they can recoup a lot of that fixed cost. So I know people hate remolds. I mean, I don't love them either, unless they're kind of interesting ones like this that you would never get anywhere else. Um, but it's kind of part and parcel with them being able to even produce this character, right? Like they're not going to be able to produce a Rodimus unless they can do more versions of that mold, even whether it's recolors or remolds. So Can I see if the Override has a backpack or not? But yeah, sure. So the same kind of deal. It doesn't really have a much of a backpack. Definitely much smaller than MP Sunstreaker that we have recently, but it's actually pretty compact. I wouldn't even consider this much of a backpack at all. This mold is actually pretty sleek in that regard. No real hollow pieces on the back or the back of the legs. The only real downside of this mold, I think, is like the side view right here, right? So it's kind of just like a block straight here. There's no, if there was like a filler piece that somebody would make that would plug into here and kind of fill in this part, I think that would be really nice to fill out kind of the side and obliques. So yeah, I kind of went on a tangent about molding and stuff like that, but yeah, that's exactly why we don't see a lot of remolds. RID Prow, I don't know much about RID, so rubber or plastic tires. All these tires are plastic, but I was saying before, if you joined a little late, it's actually really cool. So the tires themselves are a translucent, like smoky gray, but on the inside there's additional molding there that is actually red that you can see through it and see red. And I actually like that a lot. It looks really cool. RD is over. Yeah, but so is Cybertron, but we're still getting characters like this. I don't think we have any real other questions. Do you guys have any other questions um, or requests before I kind of sign off? The one thing I did want to talk about, which is not related to this stuff at all, and I was trying to get into before, was Waste Level. He does have a 360. Was that I'm going to try to do some more live streams, but I'm going to try to do a series called "What's in the Box," and it's because I have a lot of stuff that I bought and that just has not left the box at all. Like it's still sealed, and I'm not talking about like a couple figures. I'm talking about like dozens of figures that um, that I've never opened, and it's kind of ridiculous. That's when you know you kind of have a problem, right? When you buy stuff and you never open it for like I'm talking about years. There's some figures that I haven't opened in over a year, maybe 2 years, like the Warbertron Computron. I don't, I don't know that figure. I think I opened the first one, but it would be a way for me to kind of open up and actually enjoy some of these figures that I haven't had. I've had for a long time, but I haven't opened. So I think I might do that, and it'll just be kind of a new series that I'm going to start doing as a live stream. And I'll probably what I'll do is probably bring out like 3 boxes and start the live stream, and then talk about them and see which one people want to see the most. How much is she? I honestly I don't know. I don't know how much. If somebody can go to Plain Steel Express and check on the price, I gotta imagine it's like 90 or $100, right? Because I think this character was like the original Calidus was 90 or $100. So I gotta imagine this is also the same. If you guys are joining late, this is Override or Nitro Convoy. It is a version of this. Chris P 1811, thanks a lot. That's $89 and SRW 660 Hong Kong dollars. So there you go. I was right. It's kind of in the ballpark of $90, 105 Canadian dollars. So that seems about right for this mold. Um, it's not that complex. It's not that big. It's not small by any means. Like if you want to compare it to a deluxe, official deluxe, this is Legends Drift, and you can see just how much bigger it is. And it's much more complicated than this, I would say, as far as molding, even though I do like this drift mold a lot. So yeah, I think that's really it. Unless you guys have a last call for any other questions. Can I see what her face looks? Yeah, sure. So, like I said, it's kind of manly looking, I would say. And I'm sorry, I can't actually zoom in or focus with YouTube Live. It's one of the limitations. Kind of auto does that. Oh, it's not purchasable through the site yet? Huh. Why were the swords chrome? Are you talking about? Oh, are you talking about this version? This mold? So this is actually stickers from repro labels that are peeling off already. So that's why it's chromed out. The Aero Alpha swords though are actually chromed, and these are really nicely done. It's not like the super bling chrome that we saw from MP Sunstreaker or we typically see. It's almost like kind of matte. I know it doesn't make sense to say matte chrome, but it's more it does kind of have that semi-gloss look to it, and it looks quite sturdy. I like these swords a lot. They were actually debating whether they should keep it chromed or paint it silver, and I convinced them to keep it chromed out. So there you go. I don't think I missed anything. How do you like it compared to the? Oh, sorry, Lucas. You did ask that before. I missed that. Compared to the original versions of the mold, it's pretty much the same. The only real differences that I like a lot about it are, again, this chest piece here. They actually added part of the hood or windshield to the front chest piece instead of having it all on the back, as you can see here. And this is even slightly remolded, so it looks a little bit different. I do like the smoked wheels a lot. So I would say this is a cooler mold overall with what they're with the changes that they're adding, but it's the same mold. I mean, it's not a drastic remold. Unlike Aero Alpha and their Beta, their Drift, that is actually very significantly different in terms of uh, the molding here. It is similar to what we'll see in their Drift when they come out and their Deadlock, but it is actually pretty significantly different to the point where it's actually worth getting two, I would say. I do like this version of the mold better compared to the Drift. Rugelhide, I do buy KOs, not a lot. So for the ones that I buy KOs of, it's usually for specific reasons. For example, I have the oversized KO Grimlock, and that's just because it scales better with the Fans Toys dinos and also the Gigapower dinos. So I still have the official versions, but I buy that just because it scales a little bit better. The other ones that I have, the only other KOs I can think of that I have, and I'm looking around, are the NPP10, and I have tons of versions of that mold. I just like the NPP10 just because it's bigger, and it was actually a really good price. But in general, I don't own a lot of KOs. Like I don't own. Are you doing a preview of Drift? I don't have Drift yet. That version is not released yet. I did mess with the sample at TFCon when they sent it over for preview or display, and it felt pretty much finished. And again, it's very much similar to this mold in a lot of ways, but also very different, especially when it comes to the shoulders and the chest pieces. They are a bit different. Even the front part here, because it's a car as opposed to a jet, and actually like these pieces, if you can kind of imagine it, almost kind of tab in this way, in a slightly different way in Drift's mold. So it is the same mold, but it is different enough. Like this piece is not there at all. But yeah, I do like that mold. Okay, I think where is her gold lines in her chest, like in Cybertron? I don't see any gold lines on the chest. You do have kind of this tan color here, like this off-white beige color there, and then gold on the shoulders. I don't see any gold on the chest though, so you do have some gold paint that I made talked about in the alt mode, which looks quite nice. Alrighty, so I think that's it for today. I'm going to be back with another review fairly shortly. I have to do the review of Power Baser for Toy Dojo. I'm going to try to knock that out this week. That'll just be a regular review, not a live stream. But I'm going to, again, try to do more live streams. I think it's really fun for me in particular. And it's not as much quote unquote pressure, I feel, because I don't have to make everything perfect. And you guys can give me some leeway when I mess up on transformations and stuff like that. But if you guys don't have anything else, I'm going to go ahead and shut down now. Thanks again for joining, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. Hope to see you next time.